Hello and welcome to Upfront on the Voice of America. My name is Jackson Vunganye. Thank you so much for joining us today. Africa's oral tradition is rooted in centuries of cultural heritage and stands as a testament to the complex and diverse narratives that shape the continent's identity. Storytelling, a central component of this tradition, is a means of transmitting history, values, and wisdom from one generation to the next. Now, beyond entertainment, African stories serve as an educational tool and as a way to impart ethical values to young people while teaching them about the community and its cultural norms. Through these narratives, the younger generation learns about their history while gaining lessons on how to navigate the complexities of life. Most importantly, for African children in the diaspora, it fosters a strong sense of identity and pride in their cultural heritage. And joining me in studio today is Oluyemi Falomo, a retired engineer and storyteller, together with his daughter Mo Falomo, also in studio. The Falomos are publishers who are on a mission to publish and distribute Oluyemi's debut children's book, The Princess and the Gourd. The Falomos, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so okay, I want to ask you about the story of The Princess and the Gourd. Let me show the book. This is, if we can get a close-up on this. This is your debut book.
Yes.
It's, I guess, your labor of love. You've wanted to publish it for a long time. Tell me about the book. What inspired you to write this book?
The inspiration came from my son. When he was young, 8, 9, it was his favorite pastime is Daddy, tell me a story. Well, Daddy had stories to tell, but he too had to tell me stories. So we agreed that he would tell me a story and I would tell him a story. And these were impromptu.
Made up stories.
Made up stories as we go along. And that's how The Princess and the Gourd happens to be one of those stories.
Oh, okay. And now, that is, was young brother, older brother?
Older brother.
Older brother.
Oh.
He's in his 40s now.
Yeah.
So he told this story to his classmates in one of this storytelling in the elementary school. And his teacher, they were all thrilled, and his teacher told him to encourage me to put it to book. So that's how.
That's why we're here now.
So with the first manuscript came out in 1993.
Oh wow!
But
it's over 30 years ago.
It's been waiting until
this
when my daughter Mo encouraged us.
She pushed you a little bit.
Yes, he pushed me. It was in a particular circumstance. I was recovering from COVID.
Okay.
And so these unfinished businesses now.
So Mo came and told you, Daddy, there's so many things that you need to do. This one is the one project that you really have to finish. Is that how you got on board?
I won't, kind of, but not really. So the thing is, he's kind of had this book where he wanted to publish it, but it's like just a manuscript. And for him, one of his things that he's been saying, oh, I really want to do this. When I retire, I'm going to do this. And then at the cusp of retirement was when he was ill with COVID and he was hospitalized for months. So I kind of saw this as an opportunity to get him active and things that we could do together. And that's kind of how the process started. But then I took it on to find the illustrator to make sure that the story appealed to children, his grandkids who are born in,
in America.
2018, like kids who are born now, being able to see themselves in the imagery, and also speaking to the times and making sure that the story shows a range of what blackness looks like. The story shows men and women in authority. The story has morphed a little bit, but it still has the essence of kindness and compassion and sacrifice, which was very important for him, and respect.
And from there, you started a publishing house. It is not just this. Now it has become something bigger than, or larger than the mission is not just to publish the one book, The Princess and the Gourd.
That is true. And see, doing research, looking into how can we actually get my dad's book published, we realized that a lot of books that are written by about black children, so children's books that are essentially black main characters, are oftentimes not written by black authors. And so just looking at the research, I think it was like the Cooperative Book Center in 2020, their research was showing that only 12% of black
Children's books
that are bestsellers have main black characters, and of that 12%, only I think it's about
7%. Yeah.
Exactly, 7%, 6.7 or something.
By black authors.
By black authors. And I feel like that we want to be the ones to tell our stories. We want to highlight the beauty of Africa. We want to highlight our culture. We want to show you the moments in our culture that are important to us. We want you to celebrate our culture along with us. But if we're not telling our stories, right, we don't really get that opportunity. And the landscape of how storytelling exists within Africa is changing. We don't have grandparents that we can kind of just hang out with for hours
yes.
and listen to their wives' tales and listen to their moments of wisdom. So
and even though you did hang out with them, you'll probably be on your phone watching.
Well, you know,
right?
Now we want our grandparents on TikTok.
Absolutely. That's another platform, another medium of storytelling.
Another medium.
But you know, so this book was born out of your father's interaction with your older brother. What kind of stories did your father tell you?
I mean, he told me this story as well. I would say a lot of it, so my dad and I do a lot of math together. And that's something that he's passionate about. But in terms of growing up, the stories that my dad told me were stories that highlighted values, what our morals are, the version that he highlights within himself that he also wants us to emulate. You know, making it important for us to know that it's important to work hard. And when you work hard, there are rewards for hard work. Making sure that we understand the value of like respecting elders within our culture. Making sure that we even speak our language, right? Those are the things that, and education as a whole, those are the values that my father instilled within me. And he used some storytelling, some emulation within just looking at his life and just how he lived his life to actually tell us.
And those are some of the lessons you're going to pass on to you know, his grandkids. So let's talk about publishing. You cited this interesting statistic, the Cooperative Children's Book Center, again saying only 12% of U.S. children's books had a black main character. And this, you know, I guess
best-selling books.
Best-selling books. It opens you to this new world of publishing. What does it take to, what goes into publishing? What kind of resources do you need to publish a book?
Well, you know, one, I would say that to tell a story is one thing, to tell it well is very important, right? The medium with which you tell the story, the quality of the book in itself, the illustrations, the colors, we want to appeal to children. So from the beginning, it was finding an illustrator that was one African, specific to us. She was actually Yoruba, so she understood some of the cultural nuances. The second part is working and reiterating this book multiple times to get the version that spoke to the level of quality.
That captures the essence of the story visually, but also the product. It's such a beautiful book. You know, look at the graphics, the artwork it's amazing.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Oluyemi, growing up in Nigeria, what kind of, who was the storyteller in your family?
In my family, storytelling came mostly from grandparents when you go spend time with them. And because we have large families, that is, relatives live with them, so we gather outdoors.
At what time? In the evenings?
In the evening, under the moonlight. And there are riddles followed by storytelling.
Is that usually after dinner or before dinner?
After dinner.
Okay. Just a way to relax before bedtime.
Good night, it's not raining, the moon is, so the riddles test your ability to reason things out quickly and get a solution. And then the stories, most of the time, the stories were about inanimates. The turtle, the hare, comparing speed
and strength,
or slow, but thoughtful.
Yes, the turtles, those fables.
The fables are mostly what we heard. But in this, I won't say necessarily dispensation, but in telling my children stories, I was looking for things that will really relate, or they can relate to them, or they can relate to. So it's about character, it's about quality, it's about determination, it's about trust.
Why is it important that these stories remain alive?
It's important that the stories remain alive because it continues to teach. And the more you read or you hear about it, the more it impacts your own internal thought process. And the better it is to lead you to have emphasis on the good things. Doing good things does not necessarily mean it's
giving money.
But you see, your heart, how you relate, how you value, and it's not about me. And the hope is that, yes, children like to play with one another. One study in toys. As a child, you have your toy, I have my toy, we want to play together, but you want to play with your toy, and I want to play with my toy. So there's still that
wall,
that invisible wall. So I'm not want you to play with my toy because I don't think you will take good care of it. So, but we want to tell stories that will make everybody know that, look, I should be as dependent on you as you are on me.
Absolutely. And the philosophy of Ubuntu in Africa. Now, Mo, you were born and raised here in America, right?
Actually, I was born in Nigeria.
Okay, all right. Let's get it. So, most of these stories, like your father says, they're stories really. They're talking about community, about sharing. You know, we're very much a communal people. But when you're in the setting, say in the Western world, where it's much more of an individualistic society, what are some of the things you hope, like say kids that are growing up here in the diaspora, born to African parents, first generation Americans, third culture kids, what are some of the lessons you hope they take out of these type of stories?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. And for me, the first thing is Africa is a beautiful place. Like, I want my future kids, my niece and nephews, to know that, one, they come from royalty, two, to understand that there is beauty within Africa. And in some of the illustrations, we highlight some, like a rock, like, there's Oluyemi Rock in Abeokuta, where these are places that, with recognizing them in books, perhaps when they travel, they'll want to see what does this real rock look like in its actual space? What is the history behind it? The people that were protected during war just because this rock existed. So I want children to be able to pull and glean different stories, threads that exist within us, but also understand that they come, from a strong people. They come from royal people. They come from people who
proud people.
Are proud.
Yeah.
And I want them to be able to go to school. Like my niece. Oh my God, my niece is in the book. My niece and nephew. We put their image in there, and my niece has been talking about how I'm in this book. My grandpa wrote a book, but there's also representation. I want you to see outfits that look like things that you wear to African parties or you wear at home, so you don't feel like, oh well, every time I go, I don't see things that look like me. I want children to see themselves in the book, to feel represented, to see their identity and be proud of who they are and be proud of what they have to offer, Now
you joined your father on this labor of love, as I called it earlier, publishing the book of, a story that has been, in the works for over 30 years. What has that meant for you working with him closely on this project?
Sorry. I love this guy. So it's actually meant a lot to me. Yeah, it's.
That's you're getting a little emotional
Yeah,
about it.
sorry.
Yeah.
My dad's done a lot for me growing up, and just his consistent show of love and care. So to be able to give of my time, to be able to give back to him, I'm grateful to God that he's alive for me to be able to do that for him, right? I feel like this book is part of his legacy, and just the ability to walk alongside him in bringing his vision to life is a blessing within itself. So it's been a journey. My dad's a good listener. So because we're feeding off of each other and changing elements of the book, because I was like the primary editor, right? And so with editing this book and getting it to where it is, he's kind of listened. He didn't go, oh, you're changing my story, or this is not, so
It's been a collaborative process.
it's definitely been a collaborative process, and I would think so, right?
Well,
Fair, Papa?
I'll tell you one thing. She brought the 21st century into the storytelling.
Yes.
Because when I was making an attempt to publish the
Initial manuscript. Yeah.
and the line drawings, she took a look at it and said,
This doesn't work for this generation.
This,
We have to change
this is
it.
not this world.
And you listened.
I had no choice.
Because Which I'm hoping is a value that you learned from this.
Because I saw the value in what you were saying. So
Absolutely.
it was not a matter of, okay, then we have to start all over. And she went out and asked her friends who may be capable of working with us, and since it's been just beautiful.
Amazing. That's great work. Oluyemi and Mo Falomo, guys, thank you so much for coming to the studio today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.